Welcome my dear listeners, stay with me to get the spoilers first. And subscribe to the channel. Let's find out what's going to happen on The Young and the Restless. Diane snaps and causes Patty's death? The Young and the Restless spoilers say that Patty Williams just gave us a hint about Diane Jenkins Abbott's story and the trouble she could get into. On April 21st, Patty and Diane had a tense meeting in which Diane yelled at Patty for being a part of Victor Newman's disgusting kidnapping plan. Diane thinks Patty is still sick, even though she says she's getting better. If Patty's hint is any indication, Diane might be on her way to a mental breakdown of her own. Patty talked a lot about the fairy tale life that Diane was able to get and how she dressed herself up in good deeds, but she also said that the cracks were starting to show. Patty warned, "And when it falls apart, and it will, you'll be much more dangerous than I ever was." In this case, doesn't that sound like a pretty scary line of dialogue? Over the years, Patty has shown that she is a very dangerous woman, but now she says that Diane will be even worse. Maybe we should listen to Patty and think about the fact that Diane might really go off the rails. With all the trouble Patty is causing and the jealousy plot Jack Abbott might be planning with Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, Diane could really lose it. Jack, Nikki and Victor could all be in danger, but Patty might be the most at risk. Patty is staying in Genoa City for now, but Diane might decide to get rid of her for good later on. Could Diane finally lose her temper and bring about Patty's terrible fate? That could lead to a cover-up and a lot of soapy drama, so it's something to think about. We wouldn't put it past Patty to fake her death and blame Diane for it though. Diane also faked her death while people were being accused, so Patty might think it would be fair. No matter what, there must be a reason why YNR is bringing attention to the dangerous path Diane may soon be on. Is Patty really going to kill Diane, or is she just going to set her up for a big fall? Spoilers for The Young and the Restless say that Diane and Patty's fight will get worse no matter what. So stay tuned for more bad news. Nikki signs the divorce papers, throws them in Victor's face, and says the three words that change everything. Things are rarely easy in Genoa City, and the Newman marriage has always been one of the city's most complicated institutions. Victor and Nikki have been through a lot together, like scandals, betrayals, addiction, corporate wars, emotional wreckage and more second chances than most couples could handle. Even though their bond has been tested for decades, they always seem to find their way back to each other, no matter how hard things get. That history is why any problems in their marriage feel like a big deal for the whole city instead of just for them. Nikki and Victor's long, stormy love story has been a part of YNR history for years. Nikki has even tried to get a divorce before when things got too bad in their marriage. This is not just another fight when Nikki Newman finally sits down, signs the divorce papers, and throws them in Victor's face. This is a line drawn with ink, pain, and pride. When she looks at him and says the three words that hit harder than any fight, the room goes quiet. Not because Victor is used to not being in charge. No, he isn't. But Nikki has gotten to the point where being quiet, making deals, and being patient aren't enough anymore. She has finished explaining. She has waited long enough. She is done acting like this marriage can last on fumes. Victor and Nikki's relationship has been through a lot, including times when Nikki threatened to divorce him. But this time the emotional damage feels different. The problems have been getting worse for a while. People who were paying attention could see the signs. The short talks. The stress that comes with every choice. The way Nikki's face got hard whenever Victor acted like a personal issue was just another chess move. Victor has always thought that he could control power, limit damage, and outsmart any problem if he acted quickly enough. But marriage isn't like a business meeting. And Nikki is not one of his businesses. She is the only person in his life who can see through his armor and tell him what his choices will cost him without flinching. The show has brought up the idea that Victor's strength and Nikki's emotional honesty are what make them work and what make them explosive many times over the years. This latest fight starts with a secret that Victor thinks he can keep. He has been keeping things to himself, which is what he always does when he thinks the truth could hurt the family. But after years of loving him, Nikki has learned that Victor's idea of protection often looks a lot like ownership. He doesn't just protect the people he loves. He also decides what they can know when they can know it and how they should react when he finally tells them. That is what Victor thinks of as leadership. It is suffocating for Nikki. She has had enough. Victor doesn't realize how bad things have gotten until the divorce papers are already in the works. Nikki doesn't give them to him to see how he reacts. She brings them because she has already decided what to do. She signs her name with a hand that shakes only once, not because she's unsure, but because she's sad about doing something she never wanted to do. Then she walks right into Victor's world and hands him the papers in a way that only Nikki can. Not as a request, not as a deal, but as a statement. He reads the first page. Then the second one. That's when Nikki throws them in his face. This scene is pure Newman drama. Victor is shocked, angry, and trying not to show either emotion for more than a second. Nikki is scared, but she is determined. She is sick of being the one who has to deal with the consequences while Victor goes on as if he can control the world. This time she has gotten her power back in the most public way possible. There is no careful talk. No easy landing. No maybe later. Just papers, a broken heart, and a message that he can't mistake for confusion anymore. You heard me, she says, and the words hit him like years of pain. Then there are 3 words. I want a divorce. It is not a shout. It's worse than a scream. It is quiet. Measured. Last. People have told Victor off before. He has been betrayed, insulted, and even left behind. But the way Nikki says it here is especially heartbreaking. She doesn't want to win the fight. She's being honest. And Victor can feel the truth hit him before he even knows how to respond. His first reaction is anger. Then denial. Then the old Victor Newman reflex kicked in. Fight back, change the frame, and take charge. But Nikki isn't playing the same game anymore. She isn't standing in front of him hoping for a better answer. She won't ask him to be more gentle, kind, or open anymore. She has gotten to the point where the only way to save what is left of herself is to leave. That makes the moment very personal. Victor and Nikki have always been one of those couples who don't just fight about what's going on right now. They argue about everything that is under it. The old cuts. The betrayals. The things that scare them that they never say out loud. The years of loving someone who can be sweet one minute and hard to deal with the next. Nikki has tried for a long time to keep this marriage together while Victor's life kept falling apart. And the more times she forgave him, the more she realized that forgiving someone doesn't mean getting better. At some point she had to ask herself if she was still living in the marriage or just getting by. After Victor's most recent move, that question can't be ignored anymore. Nikki thinks that he is making decisions that are cold, manipulative, and selfish, even though he thinks he is doing what is best for the family. That's where the main divide begins. Victor believes that everything can be fixed if the right person is in charge. Nikki thinks that some problems only get worse when one person insists they know what's best. She knows she's gone from being angry to being determined when she hears herself say the 3 words. The time is no longer for punishment. It's about getting away. That is almost harder for Victor to accept. Because Victor Newman is used to being in the middle of the storm. He doesn't like being told things after they happen. He doesn't like it when people outsmart him. He doesn't like it when he finds out that someone close to him has moved on emotionally while he was still trying to hold on to the past. Nikki throwing divorce papers in his face is more than just a rejection. It shows that you failed. The man who can beat his business rivals can't stop his wife from leaving him. Victor hates losing like that the most. In private, where no amount of money or power can fix it. Nikki, on the other hand, isn't doing this to make him look bad. That's the sad part. She is doing it because she is broken in a way that a promise or a temporary truce can't fix. She is sick of being the one who smooths out every rough spot, waits for the storm to pass, and thinks that love can survive any mistake. She has seen too much, gone through too much, and given too much to keep feeling pain without it hurting her. Nikki is saying that her own peace is important too by signing those papers. That choice has effects on everyone in the Newman family. If Victoria is in the story, she is immediately in the middle. She knows better than most how dangerous Victor can be when he feels trapped, and she also knows how important Nikki has been in keeping the family together. Nick acts like a son who knows that this marriage has always been weak, but he still hates to see it break up. Of course, the Abbotts are hard to ignore right now, especially since the old feud between Victor and Jack still hangs over almost every emotional crisis in Genoa City. Recent coverage of YNR has shown that Nikki and Jack are in Victor's sights, which shows how quickly Victor's suspicions can grow when he thinks someone is betraying him. That background is important because it helps explain why Nikki finally gets to the point of no return. This shocking divorce news isn't happening in a vacuum. Victor makes decisions, Nikki takes them in, Victor controls, Nikki adapts, Victor escalates, and Nikki hopes things will eventually calm down. But not all marriages end because of one big betrayal. They wear away. Not fast. Over and over. The person holding on realizes one day that there is nothing left to hold on to. Nikki is there right now. The aftermath of the paper-slinging scene is almost more unstable than the fight itself. Victor is mad, but what's even worse is that he's hurt. He may not say it out loud, but Nikki's choice hurts him because it shows him the one thing he can't bully into submission. She is leaving not because she doesn't love him anymore, but because loving him has become too expensive. For someone like Victor, who often thinks that devotion can survive any amount of damage as long as the bond is strong enough, this is a devastating difference. Nikki, on the other hand, is heartbroken in the way that only someone who is finally putting themselves first can be. She doesn't want to fight. She wants to be treated with respect. She wants to feel better. She wants the emotional mess to end. But divorce in Genoa City is never just a matter of law. It is planned. It's social. It's about you. And when the Newmans are involved, the fight is as much about the story as it is about marriage. Victor will most likely fight back. That's what Victor does. He might say that Nikki is acting on a whim. He might say that she is overreacting to a problem he can still fix. He might try to make the divorce seem like a mistake, a temporary emotional outburst, or something that happened because of someone else's actions. But none of that changes the fact that Nikki has already made up her mind. The page has her signature on it. She has sent her message. And those 3 words have already done what they were meant to do: make Victor face a truth he can't change. The emotional realism in the story is what makes it powerful for viewers. This isn't just a shocking breakup from a soap opera. It is the end of years of fighting and loving each other deeply. Victor and Nikki have always been famous because they don't get along. They're like a storm. They are now in the past. They are soft spots on hard surfaces. And when they break, they never feel small. Feels like an earthquake. The show has always played up that dynamic, showing them as a couple whose love can survive almost anything except when they are completely emotionally drained. The phrase, "I want a divorce," hits so hard because it means more than just leaving a husband. It's about getting away from a system. It means saying that love isn't enough if you don't respect the other person. It is about recognizing that even a famous marriage can become intolerable when one partner continually insists on loyalty without providing equality. In that way, Nikki's choice is both sad and strong. Sad because she is leaving a man she has loved for a long time. Strong because she is finally taking control of a relationship where she has often been expected to deal with Victor's moods and the consequences. She isn't just acting out when she throws the papers in his face. She won't let herself be held back. And that refusal will have effects. Victor won't let this go without a fight. He will fight it, work around it, and probably try to get the upper hand before anyone else can tell the story. But the damage to your feelings is already done. The marriage is now in open crisis, and the question is no longer whether they can make it through the fight. In this case, the question is whether it would even be worth the cost to survive. Because the ground changes when Nikki says those 3 words. "I want a divorce." After that, everything else is fallout. Even if they don't want to, the family will take sides. The business world will be watching. The Abbotts will pay attention. Old grudges will come back. Loyalty from the past will be put to the test. And now Victor and Nikki, who have rebuilt their lives around each other more times than either of them will admit, have to decide if this last break will be the one that finally sticks. Of course, Genoa City could do what it always does and bring the 2 of them back together after enough pain. Their past shows that they are never really done. But even if that happens later, the emotional truth of this moment will stay the same. Nikki's life has come to an end in one way. Victor has had to learn that power can't always stop loss. And the marriage that has been so important to their story is now hanging by the thinnest of threads. The image that sticks with me is simple and unforgettable. Nikki standing her ground, the divorce papers in Victor's face, and the 3 words that stopped the room. "I want a divorce." That is not just a sentence in Genoa City. It is a declaration of war, a confession of tiredness, and the start of the end of one of the young and the restless most famous love stories. And this is where everything starts to feel dangerously unpredictable. Because let's be honest, when someone like Diane is pushed this far, it's never just anger. It's pressure that's been building for years. And in my opinion, Patty didn't just warn Diane. She recognized something in her. Something dark. Something familiar. That's what makes this so unsettling. Because sometimes the most dangerous people aren't the loud ones. They're the ones trying to hold it together. Until they can't. So now the real question isn't will something happen, it's when it finally breaks. Do you think Diane is really losing control? Or is she being pushed into a trap she can't see yet? And what if Patty isn't the victim in this story, but the one setting the final stage? Here's where it gets even more interesting. Nikki walking away from Victor at the same time Diane is unraveling doesn't feel like a coincidence. It feels like Genoa City is shifting, like the balance is breaking, and no one is ready for what comes after. Because when strong women stop holding everything together, chaos doesn't just appear, it spreads. My prediction: this won't end with a simple confrontation. It's heading toward a moment that changes multiple lives at once. And if Patty does go too far, or Diane does, the fallout won't stay contained, it will explode across every family connected to them. But here's the twist I can't ignore. What if the real snap isn't violence, but a setup so perfect that someone takes the fall for something they didn't do? That kind of story, that kind of betrayal, hits even harder. So now I'm asking you, who do you trust more in this situation? Diane trying to hold her life together, or Patty who seems a little too calm about everything? And if things spiral, who pays the ultimate price? Stay close to this story, because the warning has already been given, and when a warning like that comes true, it never happens the way you expect.